for the color guard, and just remain standing until we ask you to receive. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
America, we love you.
Right, please. Forward, march.
And you may be seated. We're going to be joined in prayer by Robert Zuluaga, Councilman Robert Zuluaga.
Heavenly Father, you who see all in the affairs of men, here on earth and in our small town of Woodland Park, Colorado, we come together this evening to thank you for your guidance and your direction as we seek greater insight and discernment as we deliberate on who we will cast our vote for to represent us as decision makers for the future of the public instruction of our children. Education begins at home. This was expanded in our nation as early as 1642. The good book that was the compass for public education in America from our very inception as a nation says, train up a child in the way they should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. That seems so far from the curriculum that we see being taught across our nation, where public instruction is now being framed at federal and state levels, exceeding the boundaries of oversight in the development of a sound mind, reason, and character. General education was deemed necessary by our founders to combat the one chief project of the old deluder, Satan, which is to keep men from the knowledge of Scripture. And thus, the old deluder Satan Act of 1647 was passed in Massachusetts. Forgive us, Father, for believing the lie that comes from Article 124 of the Constitution that states, in order to ensure citizens' freedom of conscience, the church is separated from the state, and the state from the church, and the school from the church. This is not our American Constitution, but rather the Constitution of the United Soviet Socialist Republic of 1922 to 1991. To the contrary, our Bill of Rights states that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Morality and religion were intended to be the foundational bedrock of our society, culture, and halls of academia. We humbly come before you as a body this evening, asking for clear minds and open hearts to hear from these candidates what thoughts, ideals, and qualities of leadership they offer, if elected, to represent our voice on the board of Woodland Park RE2 School District to steer the policy and instruction of our children. We ask this in the name of Jesus Christ, the same name that 106 of the first 108 universities and colleges of the United States of America were founded upon. Amen.
My name is Melva Harris, and I will just be going over the forum with you so that you'll know just kind of what we'll be following. We're excited that you're here. We're delighted. We know that we would love to have a lot more people here because this is such an important focus for our youth. Our youth are our future, and whatever we do that blesses them to grow into the men and women that they need to be assures that our nation will be what it needs to be. So we're grateful that you're here, and we expect some others to come out in, but we're grateful that you are here. I want to just let you know that when we scheduled this meeting, we actually did invite all 6 candidates. However, Seth Bryant, Keegan Barkley, and Mike Knott declined attendance, and we wanted to make sure, of course, that you had an opportunity to hear everyone, because that's how you make your decisions around voting. We do have we want to make sure we identify any city council. We know that Councilman Robert Zuluaga, who just gave the prayers here. Are there any other city councilmen here? Oh, okay. If so, please stand. We do want to acknowledge you. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. And I believe we have some of our county commissioners here. In fact, I know we do because I've seen. Would you please stand? Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. We're most grateful. That says a lot because, of course, you're the people who help to lead us. And we know that when you care about what goes on in the city, it makes a difference. Chamber of Commerce President Deb Miller could not be here tonight because the Charis Bible College is hosting their ministers conference, and she's the one who welcomes them in, so that is where she is tonight. Now the mission for us here, the reason this was done, is to educate voters so that they can vote wisely. Because when you don't have an opportunity to hear from people, you don't know exactly which direction to go in. If anyone is here who is not registered, it is a simple process, and we pray that you will absolutely get registered and will vote in the election. And please, let me ask if you would silence your phones, please, for me. I know that's what I have to do when I walk in a room. Make sure I silence the phone so that everyone's not looking at me if it goes off. Now, the way this is going to work is we were just blessed to have our state senator, Mark Basley, to be the moderator for this, and he will be going over that, and I will introduce him in a moment. But just to tell you the process, the candidates will have 1.5 minutes for the opening statement and for the closing statement. But for the questions, they will have 2 minutes each, okay? And we have a timekeeper who's going to make sure that they follow that, and we'll be helping them to do that. So when you get to 30 seconds, I believe the question was, and you guys can tell me, if you wanted 15 seconds as your last warning or 30 seconds. Which one works best?
We discussed it a little bit and agreed that we could do a minute and then 30 seconds, and I think
You'll be okay?
understand 30 seconds.
Okay, all right. Right there. Mm-hmm. It's 1.5 for the opening statement that they give and the closing statement. You'll know when those are. And then for the questions themselves, they will be 2 minutes. Okay? I hope that didn't confuse you too much. We get her organized and then we try to shift around so we can create confusion. Okay. So Tootie, we thank you so much for being willing to come and do that with us. So now, Senator Basley is going to be in the Q&A, but I want to at least introduce him first. So I just found the things that I thought would be more interesting as opposed to just talking about his political career, just to share with you the man who is the senator. Mark has been married for 45 years to his high school sweetheart, Mary Ann. He's the proud father of 4 and grandfather of 7. Senator Bailey was elected as a state representative in 2018 for general elections, and then he was re-elected in 2020. And then in 2022, he ran for a seat in the Colorado State Senate. And so now he actually covers for the 4th Senate District. Okay, so we're excited and delighted. I like the way he put something on his cover. It said, husband to 1, father to 4, grandfather to 7, a patriot, an aerospace engineer, and a constitutional conservative. And we're very grateful that he was willing to serve with us here tonight.
Thank you all. It's a true honor to represent you all in the state senate. My heart is here. This is the heart of the district, even though I represent 8 counties. This is it, heart of the district, right? Anyway, I'm just really proud and honored to serve you. Thank you for that. I just got handed the questions. I don't know what they are, so I'm just the eye candy that comes and reads them off and tries to keep these straight. Anyway, let me just appreciate first, before we start, that you all stepped up to serve. I mean, those of us in the state legislature, we get paid $40,000 a year, so we're in it for the money. You guys are serving for free, and thank you for your tremendous service to the community. So first question, and these will be 2-minute answers, and we'll start on this side with Director Mick. And
Should we do our opening statement?
oh, I apologize. You're absolutely right. We didn't. I think we're going to do that first. 1.5 minutes each, yes, but we will start with Director Bates.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This upcoming school board election isn't about politics. It isn't about a number of things. It's about our children and the parents responsible for them. You'll hear me say this frequently. The U.S. is currently 27th in the world in education. We can do better than that. I was born and raised in Colorado, and I've lived up here for 30 years. I remember when the United States was #1 in education in my lifetime. I want to work collaboratively with our teachers and develop a roadmap to get us back on top. I want to enhance career counseling and focus, be it in the trades or in academia. We need to provide numerous opportunities for that. I want to attract and retain the best of the best teachers, and we need to provide numerous opportunities for both trades and college. I apologize. And to do this, we want to attract the best and brightest teachers, and and we need to ensure that their pay and benefits remain competitive. We have started that process. This school board has started that process. 2 years ago, they gave the teachers an 8.5% increase. Last year, they gave them another raise. And I want to continue that effort and continue to attract those high-quality teachers. I want to see all 6 of our schools become premier education examples of what right looks like. And that's what I would intend to do if you were to elect me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mick. Director Ellenworth.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you to everybody who's come out tonight. Just a brief introduction. I'm Dave Illingworth. I am a father of 4 school children. I am a former active duty Air Force officer, and for the past 10 years or so, I have been a deputy district attorney, both in Oklahoma and here for our great great elected district attorney Michael Allen, who has El Paso and Teller counties. Since 2021, I have been a school board director and the vice president of the Woodland Park School Board. And I'll just let you know that my approach to being a school board director is that I ask myself 2 questions. And I think that if you follow the answers to these questions, the proper role of a school board director becomes clear. The first question is, who do the schools exist for? The answer is the children. The second question is, who do the children belong to? And the answer is the parents.
Right.
And it is the parents that decide where to send their children to school. And so I think that what we have to endeavor to do as school board directors and as our great and talented employees of the Woodland Park School District is that we have to always remember that parents have a fundamental right to direct the upbringing of their children, and that's a constitutionally recognized right. And so if we want to be able to do our job, we need to work with our parents to make sure that they are fully participating in the education of their child. So without them, we won't be able to do our job. And so that is the focus that I try and keep in mind whenever I'm having to make a decision as a school board director. And that's the focus that I will keep in mind if I'm fortunate enough to be elected again. Thank you.
Thank you, Devin. Director Cassie Kimbrell.
Hi, thank you all for being here tonight. It's a real honor. I'm Cassie Kimbrell. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, and I'm a passionate education advocate. First and foremost, academic achievement is the foundation of our children's future. Every student deserves the access to public education and with great success. It's not for the teachers. If it wasn't for the teachers that were in our schools, they're the ones that are guiding and teaching and helping our students with that success. But I also support the parents because the parents are the first and foremost educational influencer in a child's life. And lastly, we still need to continue to look at our teachers' wages and the benefits. When earlier this year, our administration was able to take our teachers' benefits and life insurance from $15,000 to $50,000. That is a great success. I also had my parents pass away, and I noticed my mom, she had more life insurance than our educators. So I believe that we need to really focus on our teachers, on the educators, administration, and the people that are in our schools because they are the ones that are driving that success to our children's future. In conclusion, my commitment to the academic achievement, parental choice, and teachers' wages and benefits is my first and foremost priority on the school board. Together, we can continue these positive changes if elected. And I do apologize, I'm battling a little bit of a cold. Thank you.
All right, thank you all. And I'll ask for the questions that we start. If you'll pull the microphones up a little closer to yourselves. And we'll start with Mick Bates for the first question, but I will bounce around in order as the questions go by. So first question, Director Bates, how would the removal of the sales tax income to the district impact students?
Well, it would of course have a negative impact on the students, but that money has to be collected in one fashion or another. But that money is needed in the district, and it would have a profound impact on the students.
Thank you. David Illingworth, how would the removal of the sales tax income to the district impact students?
Well, I think that the sales tax most recently was worth about $3 million in revenue to the Woodland Park School District. And the situation with school financing is rather complicated because the state legislature that you're a part of, Mark, tends to every year try and tweak the formula for how schools are funded with the goal of making sure that all of our schools receive about equal funding so that every student is treated the same across our state. And that's designed to prevent wealthier districts districts like Cherry Creek from having greater resources than something like Manitou, perhaps, or Woodland Park. And so, if we did not have that sales tax revenue, the money would, you lose $3 million from the budget, immediately the impact, I think, would be on the kind of pay and benefits that we're able to offer to our students, the kind of service, and to the teachers that teach the students, and the kind of services that we're able to offer to our students. So that'd be the immediate shortfall, and so that would create it would create tremendous pressure, either to have property taxes go up in order to fill in that gap, or tremendous pressure to lay off teachers.
Okay, thank you. Cassie Kimbrell.
Thank you. Without the sales tax, the largest portion of it does go to salaries and benefits. So without teachers, and teachers are the heroes that teach us to become doctors and lawyers and welders and etc. So that's a huge part of it. It's also our lease property we pay out of it. I believe innovation comes from it. And I know 10% goes to what the merit parents have collected. And so that is all aligned in our budget, which was in June, and then you can find that information there.
Thank you all. Second question, I'll start with David Ellingworth. Is it economically prudent for the district to pay for a teacher to have liability insurance if that teacher is not interested in having this coverage? Explain pros and cons of liability insurance, please.
Well, when you're offering benefits to teachers, it's always sort of a cost-benefit analysis in terms of how much is it costing you versus the benefit that you're providing. And so that sort of balance always has to be considered and struck by the administration in determining that. What the Woodland Park School District is trying to do is trying to make sure that we can attract and retain the very best. And we have to recognize that we're in competition with our other nearby districts like Cripple Creek and Manitou, and especially all the districts down in the Pikes Peak region in Colorado Springs, where there's tons of choices. And there's a national teacher shortage all over this country, and Colorado's not immune from that. And so, that's a seller's market. So that means that we have to be creative in terms of what we're offering. So that's why you've seen 8.5% and 5% consecutive raises to teachers, the biggest raises in the history of the district. That's why you've seen us triple life insurance benefits, and that's why we do offer free professional liability insurance to any teacher who wishes to have it, because that is something that a lot of teachers are concerned about. That's something that a lot of teachers benefit from. And before we started offering it, I believe the most common way of getting it was through the teachers union. And so now we have that free of charge, so teachers don't have to pay dues to the union if that's what they're trying to get out of the union, is just that liability insurance.
Great. Cassie Kimbrell, please talk to us about liability insurance.
So liability insurance, and why we offer an alternative now is because it was really important to some of the teachers. Not all. Some teachers will not opt in or use it, and they're not a part of the union. But some of the union teachers that I did talk to said one of their number one reasons was because of the liability insurance in case there is some sort of case that happens in the school. And so our teachers should have some sort of insurance to protect them, and it's just a service with the competitive wages that we have down the path. Since we are one district up here, we're competing with many down in Colorado Springs. We need to make sure that we're attracting and retaining the best.
Thank you. McBates.
As was mentioned earlier, in today's day and age, that liability insurance is important. And we want to make sure there were opportunities for all teachers, whether they be union or not, to have that coverage. It is not required that they accept that, but as I said in my opening words, we want to offer competitive pay and competitive benefits to attract the best and the brightest. So this is one of the avenues we selected, and it gives them all more equal opportunities within our district.
Thank you, and I'll begin this one with Cassie Kimbrell. So please describe the past 20-year student enrollment numbers and the economic impact that it's had on this district.
And over the 28 years of the district, we've seen a decline, specifically in the early 2000s, like 2002. And there was a time when it started to plateau, but now that we're offering choice, I've met a lot of parents that have either come from the Colorado Springs area or to come to one of our school districts. I recently have a family, a friend that went to Vanguard, a charter school, but now they're looking at enrolling their child in Columbine and their other child that has special needs into our district. So it is exciting to hear that there are parents coming and moving up here that want to be in the district, but there's also choice within our district and around. So thank you.
Thank you. So, Mick Bates, you can describe enrollment numbers and how it's changed over the past 20 years.
Well, if you look back 20 years, we've lost not quite half of our student base. We've lost 1,500 students in that time. I mean, at our peak, we were around the 3,300 mark. We're at about the 1,800 mark now. That's one of the reasons for school choice and giving people other opportunities, maybe lure some of these people back. We are seeing success with that. Our schools are at about half capacity due to that loss, and we're working on creative ways to increase that enrollment. It's going on nationwide. I mean, this isn't something specific to Woodland Park, but we think that giving these school choice opportunities and giving them more various things to attract them back up here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mick. So, David Illingworth, if you could talk to us about enrollment in the context of history.
Yes, thank you. When I was elected in 21, the enrollment had bottomed out to about 1,800 students. And that was down over the previous 20 years when it was a little over 3,000 students. And so when you think of going down about half, the loss in funding and revenue to the district is easily calculated, and it's the high millions. It may be tens to hundreds of millions of dollars lost over that 20-year period. And when you are in a position of a perpetual long decline, you have to think of the impact that has on your teachers and your staff, who think that they are on a sinking ship, and that they have to be wondering each year whether that's the year which the district decides that their position is the one they can do without to make up that shortfall that they're getting from the loss in student funding. Now, since the election of myself and the other conservative slate in 21, the district has been on the rise for the first time in over 20 years. The district last year, the enrollment growth put us in top 5 for the entire state of Colorado. And that's when the vast majority of districts had no growth at all. They declined. And so what we need to do here is by embracing the Parents First philosophy and offering our customers what they're looking for with school choice, a renewed focus on academics and services. That's how we continue that rise.
Okay, thank you all. Fourth question, and we'll start with Cassie Kimbrell. Tell us about the lawsuits that the sitting board has been embroiled in. For example, the reason for the suit, district costs to defend or bring the suit, the outcome of the suit, and so on.
You know, a lot of these lawsuits started coming once this board was elected, and there's a thing called lawfare. And so despite, I believe a lot of these lawsuits are politically motivated, but you know, there is a way that we are working with, you know, both cases, and they're mediating on top of it. You know, for example, the CEA lawsuit, even in the bottom of it, they're talking about how we're offering PACE, Professional Associates of Colorado Educators, as an option. And so, you know, this happens, you see it across the nation, you see it across the Colorado state where they throw lawsuits, and you start to see things that happen in February come like right around election time. So it's like, why wasn't this handled back in January, February? Why are we here now? And so we are going to continue this and just continue to do what's right and to mitigate it. So thank you.
Thank you, Mick Bates.
As Cassie said, this is a new thing, not necessarily so new, but an up-and-coming thing. I've only been on the school board a short period of time, but in the last 2 years, there have been a number of lawsuits filed against our school district. And, you know, in layman's terms, these are frivolous lawsuits. Now, there are some pending lawsuits that we feel very confident that we will win those lawsuits, but I don't think it's a coincidence that when this school board came in, the lawsuits started piling on. And when you file a bunch of lawsuits, then you've got the argument of, well, look at all the monies you're spending on attorney's fees. And I consider that to be a ploy to attempt to drag down a very strong and conservative school board, fiscally conservative. So I think there's a cause and the effect as well. And I think it's a planned situation.
Thank you, Mick. David Illingworth, talk to us about lawsuits.
Well, there have been a few. It's not that many. The majority of them all come from one local activist. She's filed 3. She's lost 2 at the trial level. The third one, we're very confident we're going to win on appeal because she thinks that the Colorado Open Records Act entitles her to school surveillance footage, and that's an astonishing proposition because think of how many times anybody in this room is in a government facility and how you could then use the Colorado Open Records Act to track them and to get footage of wherever they go, whether that's the city hall or they're swimming at the aquatic center. And so that's a really big deal, and I'm glad that the Colorado Court of Appeals is going to look at that. The other 2 lawsuits are federal. One's from the biggest teachers union in the state, the Colorado Education Association, which has passed a policy that they oppose capitalism itself. And they want to lobby you and the other legislators to pass laws restricting capitalism, the individual right to own property and to earn your way through merit. The final pending lawsuit is from the ACLU. And I think everybody knows they're not a fan of any conservative who's actually trying to turn government in a more conservative individual rights fashion. They always sue people who are trying to do things the way that they said they would in the election. So, yeah, there's political motivations behind a lot of it. There's some important issues that the courts are looking at, and I think they're going to render the right decision. And I think what we're doing is going to be upheld as being within the law.
All right, thank you all. We'll start this next question with Director McBates. I'm going to soften things up a little bit. What's your stance on the genderization of children?
Well, I think that there are 2 genders, male and female, and that is a very simple thing to address because we're going to treat all of the students in our school district equally. We're not going to give any one student or group of students rights that others don't possess, but I promise you, we will treat every student in this school equally.
Thank you. David Illingworth.
Yeah, there are only 2 genders, that's truth, that's science. But that is a very interesting and live topic that has embroiled schools across the nation into difficult situations. And what parents should know about the Woodland Park School District is that we have a very strong parental rights policy. Parents will be notified if that becomes an issue with their particular child. And the parents will be consulted and involved in what's the right way to handle that situation and how to treat that child. And we contrast that with school districts like in Jefferson County, Colorado, which will actively conceal and hide from the parent if they are what they call transing the child there. So you could have a 12-year-old who's being treated in a very particular fashion by the school district, which could include changing the pronouns they're referring to them by, allowing them to dress in a different fashion. It has an effect on which locker room, bathroom the child uses with members of the other sex. And then parents would never have any idea that that's happening. That happens behind their back. And that doesn't happen in the Woodland Park School District. Parents will always aspects of their child's education, including any sort of gender identity issues.
Thank you. Director Cassie Kimbrough.
Can you repeat the question?
I certainly can. It's, what is your stance on the genderization of children?
Despite my personal beliefs, our school district is, for parents' choice. And so this is a parental choice issue, and it's part of the reason why this board also passed a resolution with the state mental health law that was being pushed, where they didn't have to tell parents about the mental health professionals or counseling they were seeking. But now you are getting that choice. And so parents always come first. You have to sign and be aware of that. And so on the transgenderism, that is a at-home thing. That's not happening in our schools. Like, we're going to treat everyone the same. My cousin recently came out as a homosexual, and he was part of the gay LGBT community back when I was in Indiana. And he asked me and looked at my eyes and said, "Are you okay? Like, we're still cool, right?" It's like, of course, we're the same as we've always been. He's my family. And so that's how I treat the community here, is how I treat our students, is how our district, and how I expect the district to treat every single person.
Thank you. This series of questions stays in this vein. We'll start with David Illingworth. An Arkansas district passed a policy requiring transgender students traveling on district-sponsored trips to be provided their own hotel rooms paid for by the district. Where would you stand on such policies for Woodland Park?
I'm sorry, it sounded like you said that the Arkansas district had a child who was identified as transgender put into his or her own hotel room?
Own hotel room for a district-sponsored trip. So I'll reread the question. An Arkansas district passed a policy requiring transgender students traveling on district-sponsored trips to be provided their own hotel rooms paid for by the district. Where do you stand on such policies for Woodland Park?
Well, when you talk about like a field trip, it's common for the district to provide hotel rooms if you've got a team or a band competition or an academic competition, and you're going to be somewhere else over a long period of time. And so, of course, we do provide hotel rooms for those children. In terms of grouping children together, which I think is really where that sort of thing gets to. And that's the kind of thorny, difficult issue that I was referring to earlier that's just embroiling schools across the nation as the best way to handle that. What I can tell you is that the Woodland Park School District is going to fully comply with Colorado state law, in particular the Colorado Anti-Discrimination Act, but they're always going to do that in consultation with parents and make sure that parents are informed and giving their consent to how their children are being treated, even when they're away from campus, but they're still under the supervision or in the custody of some sort of school official. And I think that's the only healthy way that we can go about handling very intimate and delicate situations like that. And that's why I was referring to that if we are not keeping our parents involved, we are not going to be able to do our job right. Because if parents think that schools are hiding something from them about what's happening with their children in intimate situations, they lose trust in the school district, and they'll simply pull their children out of the district and find a school that they believe will keep them involved in their children's education.
Cassie Kimbrough, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, thank you. Without reading the policy and not knowing much about it or the background, it sounds like, and I don't know if the parents were okay with this either, and so I think there's a lot to take into consideration on those rights. And so, like David Illingworth said, we have to follow the Colorado state law, and we're not here to discriminate, but we also need to discuss with the parents and making sure how they would want to accommodate that. We do, as the district, will pay for trips and hotel rooms, especially when our students go to state for various competitions. And so, I wish I knew more about it, but, we really need to, again, protect the children and then also protect parental rights when it comes to their children.
Thank you. McBain, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, that's fine. I am not familiar with what any state law would be regarding this, but I'll go back to what I said earlier. We will treat all children within our district equally. We will not provide different benefits for different groups, and I can't see where that would be an issue if everyone is being treated equally and fairly, which every student should, regardless of their position on these issues. But we would treat them fair and equally.
Thank you. This next question also compares to another state. I'll start with David Ellingworth. In Bucks County, and let me, no, that'll be the next question. It requires some explanation. In Bucks County, Pennsylvania, the Pentridge School Board voted 7-1 to require students to use the bathrooms and locker rooms of their biological gender. What is your stance on this matter?
Well, if I'm a parent, that's what I would want to be done, because there are only two sexes, and they are the sexes you were born with, and so I think that's the best thing to do as a parent. But as a school board director, I am bound by oath to follow the law and the Constitution, and so we do have to continue to work with our attorneys. That's where those legal fees come from these days, in order to make sure that we are complying with Colorado law as well as federal law on those subjects. So. And it's one of those things where, again, that's why the best that we can do is promise to our parents that they're going to be involved in those decisions. They're going to be aware of what the school is doing, and so they're going to be able to make an informed decision about how they want their child to be treated and whether they want their child to continue in some sort of situation. What you normally see, Mark, with these kinds of stories is that the parents find out about it afterwards, that they weren't informed that there was such a policy, or that their child was being treated in this fashion, or their child was being subjected to something like this. And that's where the outrage comes from, and that's where broken trust comes from, and that's what leads to falling enrollment. So, again, the nuances of that sort of thing are going to depend on how the laws intersect with what you can and can't do in any particular state. And the states are different. Pennsylvania is different from Texas, which is different from Colorado and this sort of thing. But in Woodland Park, we'll make sure, and we can promise our parents, you will know what is happening.
Thank you. Cassie Kimbrell, in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, the Pentridge School Board voted 7-1 requiring students to use the bathrooms and locker rooms of their biological gender. What is your stance on this matter?
So despite my personal beliefs, I still believe everyone should treat it equal. And so this is, again, a different state, and we're here to follow the Colorado law. And so we do not discriminate, and we have boys and girls restrooms. There is in the district, and you'll even see it over here in the cafeteria, a single-use restroom. And so there are options for that, but for now, we have girl and boy restrooms, and that's a parental issue, and we would talk to the parents to decide the best route for the child.
Thank you. Mike Bates.
As was just said, we do have a single-use bathroom here, but as a parent of a daughter, I would not be comfortable at all. In fact, I would be very upset if I knew that a young man was using the ladies' restroom. And I don't look at this race as a national race. This is a local race, and it's actually a school district race. But there are examples, one after the other, of young men claiming to have made a change. They haven't made a physical change, and there have been young ladies molested and raped in the women's restrooms, and you see, and that is unacceptable in my eyes. So, you know, when push comes to shove, we have men's and women's restrooms, and there are single-use restrooms if someone feels uncomfortable with one or the other.
Okay, thank you all. Cassie Kimbrell, this will start with you. School districts in 36 states have policies stating that a child's right to privacy overrules a parent's right to know their child's issues. How should this district policies reflect a child's right to privacy?
So the child's right to privacy, I believe it should always come from the parents, because the parents are there to help and protect their children. So if we have child always protected with their rights, then the parents are not involved, and that's why they're with educators and teachers and their parents until they're 18. And they get to have those responsibilities on their own, and they can make their own choices. So going back to the last question, I was just going to address something, and Mick was speaking about this. You know, I have a daughter that's very young, and when we go to the park, I've read stories, not here in Woodland Park, but just being a very alert mom, of where men do hide inside of park restrooms, or people that are just predators. And so we always, as with every generation and every parent, take precautions in that, and why we need to have that separation as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Director Bates.
Repeat the question.
I'll be happy to. School districts in 36 states have policies stating that a child's right to privacy overrules a parent's right to know their child's issues. How should this district or the park policies reflect a child's right to privacy?
If I'm not mistaken, in the state of Colorado, a child is under the parent's supervision until they turn 18 years old. And I would certainly honor that, and as has been said by each of the people up here tonight, we are pulling parents back into the equation. As I said earlier, this is about the children and the parents that are responsible for them, and I want a purpose to bring the parents back into the equation, and who more needs to know what their children are doing than the parents?
Thank you, David Illingworth.
Yeah, you know, Mark, that's actually a live issue. You're probably aware of it from the legislature, that the legislature recently passed a law allowing school districts to opt in to so-called mental health screenings, which would grant exactly the sort of children's confidentiality against their parents that you're describing there. But they require the school district to opt into it, and any school district that does opt into it basically has to agree that any child who's at least the age of 12 has an independent right to confidentiality against their parents, meaning that if they were to do some sort of screening, their parents would never know about it, and certainly not have any right to say anything about it. If they were to be diagnosed, again, their parents would never know about it. If they were to be referred to any sort of treatment, and in fact to receive such treatment, again, their parents would be completely in the dark about this with no ability to direct it at all. I think that sort of thing runs afoul of the constitutionally recognized right for parents to direct the upbringing of their children. And so the Woodland Park School District did not opt into that program precisely because it would have had us stripping rights from our parents. And as long as I'm on the school board, we never will do that.
All right, thanks, Paul. So Director Bates, I'll start this one with you. And this one might take a little bit of explaining for the audience understanding. You guys will sure be familiar with this, but not everybody will be. The Social Emotional Learning Grant was not renewed. How was the release of these counselors advantageous or detrimental to our students' academic advancement?
This was all a part of COVID and grants that were given to schools to help with mental health. In my humble opinion, those counselors came with differing agendas on the issue, and the mental health was the tool to get into the door, and then you were seeing some other issues taking place, a lot of which has been discussed here tonight. And there's been a lot of question about the schools not re-signing up for those grants. We do have counselors. There is a number of about one counselor to every 250 to 300 students, which would put 2 counselors in the high school and 1 in each of the other schools, we will have those numbers. And we also have a group coming in to be there for parents and kids if need be. It's called Capturing Kids' Hearts, and I'm sorry, yes. No, what's the name of it? Hearts and Minds? Mindsight, yes, Mindsight. So we do have that, I apologize. We do have that as an option, and you know, we are coming up with solutions to this issue without all of the additional luggage coming in with it. And this goes back to academic excellence. We need to weed some of these things out and get back to our children's education so that they can read and do math at grade level and graduate with these skills. They aren't all doing that these days, so that's difficult.
Okay. I'll reread the question. The social emotional learning grant was not renewed. How was the release of these counselors advantageous or detrimental to our students' academic advancement? David.
Well, like Nick said, we do have counselors in every school. We do still have social and emotional learning. The Capturing Hearts and Mind program is one of the examples of that. And that's something that has been implemented this year under Chief Academic Officer Kim Moore. And so, in terms of grants not being renewed, it's the way it goes. Every year there are different grants that you're pursuing, different grants that you're getting, some grants that aren't available anymore, and some that you're not pursuing. And there's a lot of reasons that can go into that, whether that's the educational vision and long-term planning for academic success in the district, or it's simply a budgeting measure where you have to understand that this grant isn't going to be there forever. And so you have to make a budget decision about when the grant is no longer available. Are you going to backfill that through your general funding? And so all those sorts of things go into it. At the end of the day, whatever that grant was there to pursue, we still have counselors in every school. We still have social and emotional learning programs in our district schools. And we do still have robust mental health services, like Mr. Bates was referring to about Mindsight, which is a program that we have with a mental health service provider. And the reason we went with them, cost is obviously one thing that has to be factored into any contract, but that contract allows us to make sure that parents are notified and involved in consenting to any sort of diagnoses, referrals, and treatments that are going to happen there. What people need to realize about I'm running out of time. Essentially this, which is you can't have it all in-house. We have nurses, we don't have ER doctors in our schools, but we're going to make sure that kids are connected and able to reach the services they need, even if they're not all housed right within, say, Columbine Elementary School.
Director Kimbrough, so how will the release of these counselors advantageous or detrimental?
You know, that was something that was done during COVID and even before, and so we are now returning to pre-numbers, but like both of Director Illingworth and Director Bates said, we still have SEL in our schools, capturing kids' hearts. We still have counselors, we have interventionists, and we have teachers that really care. So a question is often asked, you know, what if there's abuse? Like you're not providing those mental health counselors. But what really happens when abuse and that comes to forthcoming, we follow the state law and a mandatory reporting is issued. And so CPS will come in and they will talk to the parents, they handle that well. And, you know, and then it's up with the parents and CPS and the social workers and the county to continue to help with that mental health. And we are there to support them as well and why we have Mindsight. So.
All right, thank you all.
I don't think I used all my time, sir.
I think you're correct. With the timing,
Just
timing
one,
Nazi here, agree with that? So you have some time left.
one comment that came to mind. Cassie and I went to Gateway here a while back. They received a nice award. And as we were in the room, the kids were kind of ramping up. They'd been told all week that they were going to get to have a party on Friday and go out to the playground early. So they were excited. And as it was ramping up, the teachers started doing this sign. And then the kids started mimicking them, and it quieted right down. And we asked the teachers, what exactly is this? And they said that was part of what we learned in capturing kids' hearts. And we got a hands and eyes on view of that program, and it was exciting. I think that was wonderful.
Thank you. So out of fairness, either of you have a follow-up to that question?
Sorry, Mr.
I
Daisy.
currently focus a lot on social emotional intelligence with my daughter. I mean, of course, we're doing reading, writing, and even some math. And so, but having friends and interacting with her peers and learning how to socialize and emotionally and regulating those feelings is really important to us. So.
Well, as it would have it, dude, I'm going to you first for this next question anyway. So, all right, this board created a policy requiring teachers to remove pride flags from classrooms. Do you agree? And if so, why? Not true? Well, then stand up and say it's not true, I guess. That's what the question fed me was this.
I'm just saying, the board has never authorized or voted on a policy that says you're going to go remove pride flags from classrooms. That's not a board policy. So I'm not sure where that's coming from. Now, whether there's a administrative policy that goes to what types of flags or other symbols or posters are being displayed in classrooms, I couldn't tell you, and I'm sure it's different. I'm sure it's different for the high school than it is for our 3 elementary schools. So, but there's not a board policy on that.
Okay. Well, we'll move on. Sticking with you, David, to begin this one. A parent told the sitting board at a recent meeting that she did not want her child to be taught the American birthrights standards. She stated she does not believe in American exceptionalism. Explain the legitimacy or illegitimacy of the American birthrights standards.
Well, the American Birthright Standards are something that come from a group called the Civics Alliance. They are largely a synthesis of long accepted educational policies from Massachusetts and Florida. The idea being that if you can find something in common between those 2 states, it's going to be broadly acceptable to all the states in between them. And so it's something that was voted on by the Colorado State Board of Education. And as I'm sure everybody knows, the State Board of Education didn't adopt them. They voted it down by a vote of 4-3. 4 Democrats against 3 Republicans on the state board. So, no surprise, it was a political decision. So the American Birthright Standards, though, that's what makes school board district elections so vital, is that the Colorado Constitution and state law vest control of educational instruction with your school board. They ensure local control. And so school boards are free to implement educational standards, curriculum, adoption of textbooks and learning programs, what have you, entirely free from the state board as long as they are meeting or exceeding state standards. And so the American Birthright Standards aren't a curriculum per se, they're standards right there in the name. And currently those standards are being implemented with school leadership, curriculum committees, teachers, building principals, in order to make sure that they do conform, they do meet and exceed Colorado state standards.
Thank you. So we'll go to Cassie Kimbrough first. Before we do, I'm going to repeat the whole question because there are a few handles here to grab onto. I want to give you all the opportunities. A parent told the sitting board at a recent meeting that she did not want her child to be taught the American birthright standards. She stated she does not believe in American exceptionalism. Explain the legitimacy or illegitimacy of the American birthright standards.
Right now I think we have a little bit of a confusion because it is standards and not curriculum. And from what I've heard from administration, a lot of the stuff that was taught prior is not changing. But we do need to recognize that our nation's history and their scores across this country are at their lows. I cannot remember the number off the top of my head. I believe it's around like 37%. Don't quote me on that. And so for that reason, implementing this and passing this, like we live in America, we all should know our American history, and we have a lot of people that want to come to this country and live here and have to pass a citizenship test when our own students can't do that. And so we need to really just elevate that curriculum or standards up, but it's also blended. Like Dave Illingworth said, we have to meet or exceed state standards. And as far as I know, there was some discussion about not having the Holocaust in there. These are things where all the administration, the teachers are all implementing into it. And so we need to trust them, trust the teachers, and also listen to the community because it does reflect a lot of our community values here in Teller County.
Director Bates.
As was said previously, the American Birthright does meet all the state standards for higher education. That came up early on. I had the opportunity to talk to a social studies teacher about this, and I specifically quizzed that person why they had a problem with it. And they shared that they had gone over American Birthright in length, and it didn't differ much from what they were already teaching. It is guidelines, and I happen to believe in American exceptionalism. I think every person sitting in this room knows that we live in a very special country, and I think we're losing some of those facets of America. And I would encourage every person in this room to sit down. There is a lot of information about American Birthright out there. I would suggest that you go take a look for yourself and dispel the rumors that you hear about the negativity of American Birthright.
Can I add one thing on that? Because he didn't use all his time, Mark. We've got in that question, like you said, there was a lot to that question, a lot to get into. But to the extent that the American Birthright standards do teach American exceptionalism, all of us here completely support that. And I don't think it'd be any surprise that the vast majority of the voters in Teller County also believe in American exceptionalism. So I think we're safe supporting that.
All right. Cassie Kimbrough. Some people say parents are not being listened to. How do you address this accusation?
We hear that on both sides, and I think even the board coming in, there was a lot of parents saying, hey, we did not hear you, we did not hear you, and so that's why there was elections change. There's a lot of talk about the division in our community, but I would have to say that this division happened a long time ago, even before this board was elected, and that since this board has been elected, this has all been brought to the light of the community so we can repair it together. We see that, and I can, talking about a question prior, you're talking about the enrollment issues. We were seeing that happen in the division when things were starting to drop and people were leaving and families were leaving. And so we're wanting to reattract those families as well as attain and get the best teachers and families. And really, it also, revives the town, and a lot of you guys have been retired or heading into retirement, and we always hear that this is a retirement community. Well, you're going to need some young families to come over and help you out. So that's why I think, the question's a little skewed in a way because there has been division years even before I came here. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Bates, how would you address listening to parents?
Well, I recently took the time to read the Colorado Association of School Boards document on school board meetings. There is not a requirement to have public comment. This school board does allow public comment, and as a matter of fact, a month ago, we added some time to that because there were people that wanted to speak in the past, only on a couple of occasions, that didn't get an opportunity to talk. So we discussed it as a board and extended that public speaking time by 15 minutes, which allowed for 5 more speakers. And we do want to hear what the parents say, but that happens outside of that meeting. I make a point to respond to emails Many of them were very long, and if you watched me type, it would take me all night to respond. I call these people and I invite a coffee or a meeting to sit down and hear their frustrations. So I don't agree with that. I think that I personally give everyone an opportunity to be heard, and I think that is important.
Can I interrupt just, I think I had 30 seconds, everyone else did. But to go along with what Nick Bates was saying about public comment, you know, as an elected official, and just like in the city council, when the public is up to address you, you aren't there to respond, you're here to listen. And so I often hear like, why aren't you guys responding to every question? And there have been board members that cross that line, and I don't. And so I'm here to listen, and that's what you're here for. And they do the same thing across the board. So thank you.
Thank you. So there's a fairness issue in time. However, we're really here to get to know you guys. For everybody here to get to know you. So I think it's fine if you pop up. Something else I really want to say.
I felt like everyone else had
I would
their
invite,
chance.
well, that was the fairness issue. I
Some of
get
the
it.
fairness, I should have my like calling friends.
All right, out of fairness, I'm going to read the question for David Illingworth. Some people say parents are not being listened to. How do you address this accusation?
Well, if you come to the school board meetings, you'll know that we're listening to these parents. And some of them, and you hear from all sides, and some of them love telling me how much they hate me. They come to every meeting and repeat it every month. So I'm hearing them. But let me give you some concrete examples, because look, it's not possible for any elected official to have every single person agree with what they're doing. And so, of course, when you're making a decision that certain voters or certain parents disagree with, they're going to feel like that elected official didn't listen to me and he doesn't represent me. But that's not how representative democracy works. You run an election, you have your positions, you state those out publicly, you defend those during the campaign, and if you win the election, you have a duty to pursue those promises to the voters who voted for you. So there's always going to be voters, and those voters are often parents who aren't going to agree with you and are going to feel like you don't represent them. Let me give you some concrete examples, though. For instance, the school calendar. When we came in, the school calendar had about a week off somehow every single month. And when that came up for renewal, I got emails from parents, especially single working moms, who said, you have to do something about this. This doesn't work at all for me. I can't work at Walmart and take a week off every month to be home with my child. And so we changed it in a way to make sure that although we're giving the same amount of educational time to instructional time to children, that now it's like a day off here on a Friday, or a day off on a Friday and a Monday. That's how we're listening to parents. And I know it says stop, but I'm going to give you one more example. I had other examples, Mark, will save them for later.
Okay. So we're back to the beginning here, Mick Bates. We'll start with you here. At a DAC meeting, accountability meeting for the 22-23 school year, Tina Kessens explained how the sixth graders were not prepared to move on to seventh grade due to immaturity and poor reading levels. How do you see holding them back in the elementary schools for another year will address these issues?
You know, there's more to it than that. We were given a paper on this issue, and it is well documented that children in the sixth grade are not ready to go up and be at the bottom of the pile at the next grade level. Now, I'm old, but I went to sixth grade in elementary school, and it's an opportunity for those sixth graders to mature some more and to mentor their younger peers, and so it'll be a better balance for them when they do go into seventh grade. They're a year older and they're more mature, and it's a better fit, and that is well documented as well. So that is the crux behind the decision that was made to keep them in the sixth grade.
Thank you, Nick. If you want to squeeze in your other answer, David Illingworth on this one. But the question is, at a DAC meeting, Tina Cassins explained how sixth graders were not prepared to move on to seventh grade due to immaturity and poor reading levels. How do you see holding them back in elementary school for another year would address these issues?
Well, yeah, to follow up what Mick was saying there's certainly plenty of studies that suggest that sixth graders perform better academically. They have a better discipline record when they are the most mature grade level within their school instead of being the least mature grade level within their school. One of the things, though, that I liked about the placing the sixth grade amongst the various elementary schools was that provides greater school choice for the families in the Woodland Park School District. Because if you think about it beforehand, if you had a child at Summit who's, say, in second grade, and a child who's now going to be going to middle school, you have to drive from Florissant or Divide or put your child on the bus to get to the middle school. And now, not only are we able to keep those families together longer, but now you can decide whether you want your child to attend sixth grade at Summit, at Columbine, at Gateway, or at Merritt Academy. One of the things that we did learn from that was the importance that the sixth graders still feel like there's a little bit of a rite of passage there. And so we had lockers installed in all of our elementary schools, which sixth graders alone get to use those lockers and have their locker combinations, because we heard back from parents as well as teachers how important that felt to the sixth grade students. We also had to ensure that our sixth graders weren't missing out on opportunities related to athletics or music competition that they otherwise would have had over at the middle school. And so they do still have access to those sorts of things. So we think that's going to be great, not just for the kids themselves, but also for their families.
Cassie Kimbrough.
You know, before I was appointed to the board last year, I would sit in and listen. I think it was right in between when the last board election in 2021, and the district administration was going through the space and the usability in all the rooms. And so that was another factor of the sixth graders. First and foremost is always their academic excellence and their success. So we want to look at that, and if we're seeing that that's better for K through 6, then we want to make sure that we achieve that. But we also, again, it helps fill some of those half-empty spaces and buildings that the taxpayers are using. And so with universal pre-K as well as K through 6, we have that. I think the utilization is it about 70% now? 70, 80? Well, I guess all of them are a little different. I wanted to round up, but they're at least at 60, but we're working towards that, especially, again, like I said, with the universal pre-K. And also, Dave Illingworth brought this up. We heard a lot from parents and teachers in public comments, emails, and phone calls about the sixth graders wanting their lockers and personal space. And I will say that each elementary room is uniquely different, and they all were able to have a budget, and so they could provide like couches or chairs. Some of them have snack rooms or refrigerator, and so it almost is like a study hall for the kids that, you know, wanted that rite of passage for their lockers. The lockers are in there, and they're also, some of them are lights and decorated, so they are able to share that individuality with them. And my time is done. Thank you.
Okay, we've had time for 2 more questions, starting with you, David Ellingworth, this time. Other than enrollment, give examples, please, of how the district has either been in decline or improved.
Well, I wasn't here for the decline, thank goodness. I have been a part of the improvement and the rise since I was elected in 21. I can tell you, though, that before I was on there, the numbers of the enrollment, we were bleeding out, okay? And there had been talk for many years, going back to 2012, about potentially having to close a school. And that was told to me by leadership once I got elected. I mean, it was sort of like it was whispered around that, well, you know, you can charter Merritt Academy, that's not going to stop it, you know, this is what's going to happen. And we had like a feasibility study done that year that laid out kind of expectations for enrollment, and they had us declining. I can tell you that we have defied all expectations to grow enrollment numbers, and that was against the expectations of the independent experts and of the existing administration when we came in. Teacher pay was also part of that decline. Teacher pay was stagnating. the number of personnel that we could have was, of course, impacted and reduced and restricted when you're losing kids every year. Now, teacher pay is on the rise. The number of opportunities we're able. Are you flashing to stop at me?
You have 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Okay, so I'll stop over here. That's on the rise with enrollment growth. And so our academic performance is already looking better. Our student services are improved, like busing for all of our families to go to any school they want. So if you're in Florissant, you don't have to just ride the bus to Summit. You can ride the bus to Columbine or to Gateway. So that's what makes the difference. And it all starts with enrollment growth.
Okay, Director Kimbrell, other than enrollment, please give examples of how the district has either been in decline or improved.
You know, as Director Illingworth just said about a lot of the changes and seeing the growth, you know, when I was appointed to the board, we were nominated as one of the top 5 highest growing schools in the district, which I think also is a great way to market our schools and to attract and retain, you know, families and students and teachers. And so we are starting to see that in academic success. We have, you know, just great opportunities with the busing system, because I talk to a lot of parents, and both, you know, some of them have all their kids in, let's say, Columbine or the high school, or there's one kid in Merritt or in, you know, Summit. We are a community, and we're Plymouth, and we're here to represent everyone and all kids. And so when you focus on those, the academics are up, and we focus on seeing, you know, cutting the overhead in the budget and making sure that, you know, we are paying and putting more of that into our students and focusing on them. So that's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Cassie. Mick Bates, how are we declining or improving? Up to you.
You know, that number does go up and down. This board is about increased enrollment, but as much or more so than that, we are about quality before quantity, and we are seeing that quality improve. We have increase. I mean, Merritt had a pretty substantial increase this year. We had a few losses in some other schools, but when you balance them all out, I think the loss was minimal. But here again, I'm focusing more on the quality of education that we're providing, and that will attract new people to our district. If you look at a long-term plan, that is a sign of, will be a sign of success. The 4th of July, we had an event, the typical Woodland Park 4th of July event, and a family came up that and wanted to tell us that they had just moved here from Crested Butte. He had a very successful building construction company, and it was a difficult change, but they heard what was taking place in Woodland Park, and they picked everything up and moved here. Their kids are in our schools, and they said it's going very well. So that is proof that what this school board is doing is having an effect, and all parents are concerned about the quality of the education. So you've got to mix them both, and I think you'll see increased enrollment in spite of the fact that enrollment in public schools is down across the country. We're aiming the other direction.
Okay, thank you all. We'll start with Cassie Kimbrell on this one. At the February 8th school board meeting, a future parent stated that she wants her children to attend traditional schools. Can you describe traditional schools?
You know, I wasn't present at that meeting because I recently lost my mom that year. So I do slightly remember because I rewatched it and was watching the live stuff. But traditional schools, you know, I don't know if we have traditional schools, because if you look at every district, and every school has something to offer. You know, Gateway has always been more innovative, and they're project-based. You know, Summit's known for being the outdoor nature school, and so we have lots of different options and choices. And you know, Merritt is known for being a classical traditional school, and so with that, there's a lot of different choices throughout that. And I don't know what she necessarily meant with traditional. I would like her to contact me to tell me what her definition is like for, I don't know, like, what was the question on for like traditional? Did it just say traditional education? Reading, writing, mathematics, you know, the basics that we've all learned, the 3 R's. And so, and for that is a focus in this district, though, the 3 R's and everything. But I think every school has a different culture, and I think that's what makes Colorado so great, is that you can choose any of the schools to put, you know, enroll your children in. And so we want all of our schools to have the best academic success, and that also goes with having a culture of that and making sure that we're treating our teachers and our environment correctly. And so I'm getting this stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. Director McBates, it's an interesting question. A parent
Yeah.
longing for a traditional environment, traditional school. How might you address that?
Well, I could give my definition of it. I mean, I would say that to mean that children shouldn't have to go to a private school to get a quality education. They should be able to go to a traditional school to get that education. I think that a traditional school is focused on academic achievement, the 3 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic, and putting some of these other things that have crept into our schools and are inhibiting our children's education need to be put aside. We need to get back and focus on academic excellence and see that our kids can do the 3 R's at grade level right up through graduating from high school and moving out into this wonderful world.
David Ellingworth.
I'll give a slightly different take on it. A lot of times when you hear somebody use the word traditional school, what they're trying to say is non-charter. And so, and they used to say public schools, but of course charter schools are public schools. And so sometimes that's the way that debate is framed, is a traditional versus a charter school. And so, because that's the thing to remember, that you know, you talked about concrete examples of improvement within the district outside of just the enrollment growth. And one of those is that we opened Teller County's first ever charter school, Merritt Academy. That's a way that we improved the district by offering school choice to families, because we have to attract those families to come to Woodland Park. And they're going to be more willing to do that if they lose the fear that they're going to try the school system and they're not going to be happy with it, and they're not going to feel stuck or that they're trapped inside of a school district that they don't want to be a part of. Everybody here knows how hard it is right now to sell a house and how you can get locked in to a particular community in a particular school district. So school choice allows families the flexibility to control their own fate, even when they don't get to control mortgage interest rates. And so, but the point of that parent's question is, that's their choice. And because this district is on the rise and growing, we are no longer talking about closing the school. Teachers are no longer having to worry that their job's on the chopping block, and they have every right to expect that their jobs are safe and that their pay is going to be able to continue to go up.
Okay, now we have a little more time than I thought, so I'm going to grab my favorite question of the ones remaining. So I think it's an important issue that all parents would want to understand your approach for. I'm going to start with last time. Start with Cassie. Well, I'll start with David this time. We haven't heard from you for a second or two, so. So on the topic of security, how should school security issues be addressed? David Ellingworth?
Pick me.
Nick, I'll yield to you. You want to go first?
I was kidding, I will.
Go first.
I've lost control.
You know, school security is very important to all three of us up here. And we've been working on a more aggressive plan to address school security. Most of you know that we have brought armed security into the Woodland Park School District. I did some research on this issue, and since Columbine, there has not been one incidence of a school shooting in a school that had armed guards, not one. And well, I can't say that for the rest of the country. We've had some horrific examples of school shootings. So I think that's important. I think that's what it's come to in American schools today. That is a very strong deterrent. And we have done an analysis. I say we, the district has done an analysis of the schools, walked through them all and have suggestions. We have a list of progress to be made. It's very expensive to do this. I mean, when you're talking ingress and egress and various things, but we have a list and we are prioritizing it, and we're gonna see that our schools are safe and a healthy place for our kids to attend and be safe.
Okay, I'm going to go to Cassie for that question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Because I want to give Cassie the first closing statement, go in reverse. So
Well, no, security is very important to us. I mean, we live in Teller County, and Teller County is one of the most armed counties in America. Right? So everyone at least owns 3 firearms on average, according to the statistics. And so when you think about that, as well as having national press and people coming in and just, you know, we want to make sure that our kids are safe and secure. So we are protecting them in that way. And we actually allotted $1 million when we passed the budget, and it was for that security purposes. And so, you know, like I said, this is a very high priority on our list, and it's something that, if continue to be elected, it will be on the forefront of going forward, because all of our children are our prized possessions, but also the teachers and the administration that work inside our buildings. They all deserve to go home and have dinner with their family that night.
Amen.
thank you, Director Ellsworth.
So, Mark, the only thing I'm going to add to that is that we love our local police officers. We love the Teller County Sheriff's Office. We love the Woodland Park Police Department, and we work very closely with our sheriff and with the Woodland Park Police Chief on this issue. And unfortunately, the police departments are struggling to have and hire as many police officers as they would like. And I'm not going to blame any of our local government, Mark. I'm going to blame the legislature that you're a part of. And I'm sure you didn't vote for these bills, but as you know, Mark, they've passed a lot of things lately that are having a chilling effect on the ability of every law enforcement agency in this state to meet their hiring goals and to properly provide for public safety in their communities. School districts are bearing the brunt of that. I'm sure you're aware, Mark, of the dangerous situation that happened in the Denver school system when their school district got rid of their police officers. And as a result, staff members were hurt by a dangerous student who came on grounds with a weapon. We love police officers in the Woodland Park School District. We will continue to work with our local law enforcement to get school resource officers as soon as they're available. But in the meantime, this school board is committed to providing the funding necessary to make sure that our students, our staff, and our visitors are safe anytime they walk on the school grounds. And that's the commitment of this school board in Teller County.
Since my name was called out, I think I deserve a response. So I'll tell you what I preach all the time down at the Capitol. I'm getting the stop sign. Our kids, I think, will stop shooting themselves and each other if we can teach them how valuable their lives are. And stop teaching them that they were an accident of nature and that life just simply showed up spontaneously, but that their life has true meaning. And so does the life of everybody sitting to their left and to their right. So that's what I tell them. That's what I
A portion of our sales tax does go toward security of our schools.
I hope so. All right. Thank you all. You've been amazing. Now it's time for closing statements, and you have a minute and a half each, 90 seconds for that. We'll begin with Director Cassie Kimbrell.
All right. Thank you guys for all coming out tonight and spending your Monday evening with us. I stand before you as a mom and a wife. I've been with my husband since 2009. We didn't get married then, we dated for a while, and we got married when we moved to Colorado and bought a home here and had our first and only child here. So I believe in the power of education, and every student does deserve that education and that choice, that school choice that they want to go to. We owe them that. And as taxpayers of the community, you guys all contribute to that too. And you know, education is what sets us free. And so, in conclusion, and to continue our academic success, our focus, parental right, and admiring teachers for their invaluable contributions. You know, I get overstimulated as a mom of one. I cannot, you know, they have 20 kids to, 25 in a classroom at a time, and sometimes more. And so we need to give them competitive wages. We need to make sure that we're valuing our teachers and their wages, but also making sure that the parents always have the first choice to everything. And so, just to sum it up, because I see that I'm about to get my time, I humbly ask for your support and your vote this November. Thank you.
Thank you. Director David Ellingworth, 9 seconds.
Thank you, Senator. Ladies and gentlemen, this election offers us all a choice. Are we going to continue the recent rise of the Woodland Park School District, or are we going to allow special interests to drag us back into decline? Since I was elected in a change election, I have kept my promise to the voters, and I have been a leader to bring change. Since the election in 2021, enrollment is on the rise. Teacher pay is higher than ever before. Teacher benefits are higher than ever before. Our academics are again on the rise. Our services are greater than ever before. Our commitment to security is unparalleled in the district's history. That has been because we have focused on making sure that our parents' voices are empowered. We empower our parents. We don't enrich the unions. We don't enrich their politicians. We keep our Woodland Park schools under local control with Woodland Park values. So I ask for your vote. I ask that you join me in continuing the great and recent rise in the Woodland Park School District for the benefit of your kids, your friends and neighbors who are teachers here, and this entire community. Thank you.
Director McBates.
First of all, I want to thank all of you for taking time out of your day, evening to attend this event. This is important. And, folks, I have no agenda, local or national. I am running for this position because I recognize that to keep this country great, it is in the hands of our children and the parents entrusted with them. And I will continue the progress of this current board, who has had some wonderful success, to collaborate with teachers and parents to get us back on top. That was my objective 3 years ago when I took an interest in this process and we put this conservative school board into place. So we can get back on top, and I think that the work this school board has done, we need to continue that. And we need some more time. We've got a lot of plans. There's still more to be done. So I would ask for your support to give this board another term to continue this progress. I'm very optimistic, and I would, ballots go out on you'll be seeing them in your mailbox around the 19th. And I would ask for you to get your vote in before or on November 7th. People of Teller County are kind of funny. They want to go vote on election day. I'm one of those. But I would encourage you to vote. That is a right you have as an American that people fought for. So please vote, and I would ask you to support this group of people up here in doing so and furthering our cause to help our children. Thank you.
There turn this microphone back over to Melva Harris.
Thank you so much for coming. We're excited that you're here. We know that you can make better decisions. I haven't heard from the candidates here. And we also know that your heart is in the right place, because you know that regardless of any of our ages, our children are our future. And unless we have what we need for them to become who they're actually destined to be, we're in trouble, even though they will be in trouble as well. Thank you so much. We're so grateful to our candidates. Would you please give them a welcome? Thank you. And I want to say thank you to Mark, because he could have been anywhere, but he chose to be here with us, yes, you and I. And so because he is gracious in being here and really moderating this and making it also fun, we want to thank you very much. Just a couple of other statements and then we'll be wrapping up. I do want to remind you, as Nick took the opportunity to do, that the ballots are going to be dropped in the mail on October 16th. Please watch your mailboxes. Please make sure that if you're not registered to vote, that you do. And when you have friends and relatives in the area, make sure you encourage them to do the same thing. And for those who are not here, that you know, whatever your heart's desires are, if you're looking at these as candidates and you're going to be voting, please make sure you share at least what you understood and what you were able to take away. And we want to thank Senator Baisley. We want to thank those who are here. Tootie, we appreciate your doing. She has a special job because it's what we call now, you know, everything's technical. So hers was the basics. So she did her job well, and we're grateful. And we're really grateful to you guys for being here, because you could have been someplace else. So thank you so much, okay? Now, as we wrap up, we want to make sure that you head out. If you have a couple of minutes to chat with any of the questions for our candidates, if they're about, we do have to clean this house out before 8 p.m. So around 7:45 or 7:50, we're going to dim the lights. That means everybody run. Okay, thank you again for coming. We're so appreciative for your being here, and we're looking forward to seeing your results when it's all over, okay? Thank you.